wrong ones part ways, right ones find their way. I once saw a post online. A wife who had been married for 10 years sued for divorce, and the reason was that her husband didn't wash the dishes. At first glance, it seemed like the woman was being overly particular. But upon closer examination, it was not the case. The incident began when the wife's workplace had an event, and she was extremely busy for 4 consecutive days, returning home very late each night. After the event was over, she planned to take a good rest, but when she entered the kitchen, she saw the sink piled with dishes that had been there for 4 days. She burst into tears. At that moment, she made up her mind to divorce. Marriage is fragile. How many marriages, pledged with vows of eternal love, have unconsciously grown cold and eventually dissolved? A lady shared that when giving birth, her mother-in-law strongly advocated for a natural birth, and her husband remained silent. During her confinement, when the child cried at night and she couldn't soothe him in time, her husband felt disturbed because she was disturbing his sleep. After refusing her mother-in-law several times to feed the child mashed food, her husband frowned at her and said it was okay. When the child got hurt or sick, he blamed her for not taking care of the child properly, causing him to suffer from mild depression. When her husband saw him returning from the hospital with medication, he said, "Don't be like those melodramatic women in the news who think about jumping off a building when things go wrong." Then he acted as if nothing had happened, chatting and laughing with his parents. What does it feel like to stab a knife into a wound? Probably something like this. At that moment, her heart was shattered, and all hope was lost. In the end, he chose divorce. My classmate, Lizzie, divorced on New Year's Day. When I heard the news, I wasn't surprised at all but felt deeply saddened. When she got married, I was the bridesmaid standing by his side. I witnessed their best times together and also witnessed how their once shining marriage gradually lost its luster. When she gave birth, enduring the pain in the hospital room, he couldn't even manage to give the child milk powder once as he was always too busy and tired, needing rest. The trigger was a sports match. He got up to watch TV in the middle of the night, and when she asked him to keep it down so as not to disturb the child, he immersed himself in his own world and completely ignored her. The next day, he posted on his social media, "I'm living worse than a ball," and then it was over. My neighbor May is a nurse. When someone has a sick family member who needs injections or IV drips at home, she always helps out. Once, when we were having hot pot together, we said her husband was really lucky to have married such a kind and easygoing wife. May glanced at her husband opposite her and said to us, "All my easygoing temperament has been given to my patients." In fact, my husband often serves as my emotional trash can. When I'm upset at work and come home with a bad mood, he has put up with me for 10 years. Yet her husband would say, "Well, it's not easy for you at the hospital. If I don't understand you and let you vent, won't you suffocate?" Because he shows compassion. It's the small things that reveal deep affection. There's a saying that someone may be angry with you on the surface, but deep down, they're still holding an umbrella for you. We all need someone like this to spend the rest of our lives with. I remembered many years ago when I had a fight with my husband and stormed out of the house. As I rushed out, my husband followed me closely, staying within 2 meters of me. Even as I scolded him, he didn't respond. Later, whenever we argued, if he noticed I was about to leave, he immediately told me to get out and then went for a walk around the neighborhood. Nowadays, I don't act out anymore. I know he cares about me and is afraid I'll be unsafe alone. Am I not the same? Even if he rolls downstairs, I still worry about him. Quarreling is the mirror of marriage. Whether love exists can be seen from a fight. One morning, we argued over a trivial matter, and when I returned home from work still angry, I decided not to cook. But I found my husband had come home early and cooked dinner, even though it didn't taste great. But at that moment, I felt warmth in my heart. Even in the happiest marriages, there are 100 thoughts of divorce and 50 impulses to strangle each other. A good marriage isn't without its edges, but there's someone willing to polish them with love. True love is practical, found in every meal and every piece of trivial daily life. That's all for today's article. To make a marriage happy and lasting, we need to pay more attention to the details of life. Till we meet again,